I was watching Patriot Pride on Sunday night. As a matter of fact, I called into the show. Stay to the end of the video and then I'll tell you the story of how and why I called into the show. So, Adam is the host. The dog is running around crazy. And his friend Mike comes on as his guest. Adam does all the investigating. I think he has a team that helps him. And then he does the presenting of what he found. Mike never knows what he's going to present. So Mike is asking legit questions off the cuff, right? So they brought up their panel. They'll present, then they bring up a panel, and then they get rid of the panel, and then they do the call-in section of the show, and that's when I called it. So that's not the important part, though. The important part is what happened when they had the panelists. So Mark the Shark, another YouTube content creator, he said he just started like 8-9 months ago, and he started with that missing baby, Kathy. Remember when we were following that missing baby storyline? And Patriot Pride just started with Miss Nancy, when Miss Nancy went missing. So Adam said, Adam is the one that has the drone. I think Dad's Gone Live also has a drone. But Adam got a lot of good footage with his drone early on in the case, right? Adam said that he went back over there and he was questioning the neighbors. You know, people are going back in front of the house. Alex went back on Friday or Thursday, I think, and I was upset. Remember, I was worried for him. Sleuth went back. Well, I don't think Sleuth ever stood out there before, but he went and he stood out there for a while. Cops showed up because somebody swerved and tried to hit him. He was kind of like aggressive with the cops, with the deputies. I think they were coming in not hot like they did with Alex, but I guess he didn't trust them. Anyways, I digress. So Mark the Shark went over there and he questioned the neighbors, he said. And he said one of the neighbors told him that when Annie got to the house and found out that her mom was missing, she was inconsolable. She was balling herself up into the fetal position, and she had to go over to the gem guy's house and did the same thing, balled herself up in the fetal position. I don't know if she sat on the floor. I don't know if she laid, on the floor, if she sat on the couch. I don't know what she did. But I'm going to ask the question, if she really did this. That's the first question. Did Annie really do this? I don't think Mark is lying. I don't think the neighbor is lying. We just want to confirm. Sometimes the cards are just for confirmation. Can you see the cards right here? Sometimes I got the camera a little bit too close. 5 cards, and what's hidden underneath the deck, what we don't see coming. I might pull a line of Lenormand too to confirm. 5 of Pentacles, poverty, hardship, financial loss. I really feel like Annie and Tommaso were suffering financially. And I've told you guys before in another show that, the income for a substitute teacher versus a regular teacher and what the mortgage could possibly be. And even when people were saying they didn't pay the property tax, you pay the property tax in 2 pieces, I think November and February. I don't pay it that way anymore in my mortgage. It's just all in one thing because I found it hard to save that money on the side. If you bought the house for like $350,000, your property tax in California is like $5,000. I don't know what it is in Arizona. So double that, if you bought the house for 600 something thousand, it's $10,000 a year. So that would be 5,000, and then 5,000 you would have to pay. So I would imagine they couldn't pay the one in February because that's when everything happened. And then I'm sure Tommaso can't work, right? So Knight of Wands, passion, bold, adventure, daring, swift. Is that the gem guy? 3 of Wands, progress, expansion, looking ahead. This is somebody who's hopeful. Strength, courage, patience, inner power. The Lovers. Well, that was Annie and Tommaso that was at the house. It's not telling me if she went over there and took the news bad. The World, completion, fulfillment, travel. Now, I'm the kind of person, when I get bad news, I take it as a gut punch in it. In public, I recover, but in private, I fall apart. So let's look for Annie. Let's look for the woman in Lenormand. Maybe that's just the way Annie takes the news. So we're asking if she really did this, right? We're asking if she really did this. So what's in Patriot Pride, they heard the news of everybody saying, here's the woman, everybody saying things they didn't say in that last episode. I'm like, man, people like to misconstrue what you're saying. Okay. The man could be Tommaso or the gem guy, right? And then the child, well, I think this card is telling me, yeah, she did this because that's like a very immature, childish reaction. Huh? Yeah, sure. Thank you, baby. He's asking what I want for breakfast. That would be a very immature, childish reaction, right? Right? Not to be negative towards Annie, but it's just not like an adult reaction. And then Annie's in the middle. The bear, she's probably thinking I should have protected her. I'm operating today on the premise that maybe they didn't do it. Let's go with that premise. And then the heart, she loved her mom. So I'm thinking, yes, she did it. The Norman is telling me, yes, she did it. She went over there and had a really scared reaction. People were thinking if she did, that was fake. Could be. When they went to the flowers and she was sobbing, I thought she was being fake. So I could come in that class of people that would think that would be an overreaction, but maybe not. Maybe she was panicked. Maybe she and the mom had a fight. And, you know, she's like, oh my God, no, we had a fight. No, she's gone. Could have been that type of reaction. You know, when my mom got news when she was going through the cancer and they would come back with the different reports, I was the one that just stood there and took the gut punches. And then my family was falling apart, right? Well, not Joel. My husband never falls apart. He never cries, he never falls apart. We think he's a robot. So the next question is why? Why did Annie react this way? I feel like the Nine of Swords would show up if she was like anxious, stressed out, having sleepless nights, worried. I feel like that would show up like if she's guilty. I want to share too, after this part of the read, I want to share the motive. I want to share what I feel the motive would be. Because remember the last time I said I figure they all had means and opportunity. But what is the motive? And we're also going to look up what means and opportunity mean. Okay? Let's look up those words. When we don't know, we look up the word. So why? Annie, why? Why did you react this way? Is it because of guilt? Or is it because, well, and it could be the guilt of, oh my God, I fought with her and now she's gone. It could be the guilt of her doing it. So that's not really a good question, right? 5 cards. A lot of people do 4 cards. I don't know why I got attached to 5 cards. So if you're learning to read along with me, you might pick 3 cards. So that's what we don't see coming. Page of Pentacles. Again, a young energy. Maybe this is just the way she reacts. You notice when she's around Tommaso, she's kind of clingy. Here comes the Knight of Wands. Is that the gem guy? He came up again. They know him because they said the gem guy used to give Miss Nancy gems. Fate, good fortune, turning point. Ace of Swords. New ideas, success, new beginnings. 6 of Pentacles, giving and receiving help. And then the Queen of Pentacles, nurturing, resourceful, practical. I don't know who that would be in the mix of those women there because I already gave Savannah the Queen of Swords and Annie the Queen of Cups and Miss Nancy is the Empress and the 8 of Swords. So I don't know who this is. Because of this, the young energy, I'm going to say that this is the way she reacts to things, right? That's part of the reason. She knows the gem guy. I feel like this is the gem guy. He's passionate, bold, adventurous, swift, daring. And the Wheel of Fortune is a turning point. If we think that Annie and them did this, okay, let's get into what I feel. I showed this already. Let's get into what I feel would be their motive. But before we do that, let's look up what means and opportunity means, okay? What does means and opportunity mean? in crime. In criming. Okay, means, motive, and opportunity are the three core elements investigators look at to connect a suspect to a crime. Means refers to the ability, physical capacity, or tools required to carry out a specific crime. So the tools, like they went with a thing to pry the door open. That fool in the front door didn't have anything, not even a piece of tape, not even a Sharpie to cover up. And why cover the lens like this? Right? Why cover the lens like this? People think that was just a sham, that they wanted him to be seen. I think it could be high, right? Because why not even do that to cover the camera lens, right? If I'm trying to cover this camera lens, I'm not covering it really well unless I do that, right? I'm covering it that way. Piece of tape, a Sharpie, some tools to drag the thing off. So maybe that guy didn't have the means per se. He had the opportunity, right? What's the opportunity? So continue with the means. Do they have the capability? If a crime required lifting a heavy object or specialized physical skill, the suspect must be physically and mentally capable of doing it. That guy at the door couldn't lift nobody. He walked kind of like crippled, like he was injured. Do they have the equipment? If a suspect used a specific poison or a rare firearm, investigators will look to see if the suspect actually had access to those exact tools. Well, that holster thing is kind of rare, they said, right? That Mexican holster or whatever right in the front. What was that about? So the opportunity means the suspect had the time, the chance, and the access. Well, the guy at the front porch didn't have access into the house unless somebody let him in, right? So somebody else had to have been inside the house. We already kind of figured that out. Could they physically do it? For example, if someone robbed a bank at 2 p.m. but was caught on camera 20 miles away at 1:55 p.m., they likely did not have the opportunity to commit the crime. So also that's what opportunity means. Well, they all had opportunity. Now let's talk about Savannah. They said she flew from New York to Tucson when she got the call. I'd like to see that plane ticket. Did she really fly from New York to Tucson? Right? She said she was at Carson the night before because the husband went on a tennis weekend that she bought for him for Christmas. That's the husband's alibi, right? Her alibi is Carson. How far is it from New York to Tucson? Was she really at Carson? Did they interview Carson? And if she was at Carson the night before and came home the Sunday, did she fly from New York to Tucson? I feel like law enforcement knows all of that. We don't know any of that, but they know all of that. So that would tell us if she had the opportunity to be the porch perp, like that content creator said. She said, she's thinking it could be Savannah, right? So did she have the opportunity? Did Cameron have the opportunity? Was he really in Vermont? I believe he was in Tucson. That's just my opinion, okay? I believe he was in Tucson. Annie and Tommaso, of course, had the opportunity. They had the means. So now let's look at the motive. While you didn't ask about motive, I did. It is the third pillar of the triad. No, I didn't. I just asked what means and opportunity meant. Okay, cool. Sorry, AI. Motive is the reason for underlying incentive that pushed the person to commit the crime. Financial gain, revenge, or jealousy. Okay, so I was watching Thornbridge X Unfiltered. That's a husband and wife that just jumped into the mix because the wife, Jennifer, I guess she's going on other people's panel, giving her theory. And she gets laughed off of the panel, she says, but I kind of like her theory, but I have a twist on her theory for the motive. Well, they had a show Sunday or Monday where they invited the husband's brother-in-law, who is a former home outside. I can't say certain words on YouTube. I'm not even monetized yet and I'm monitoring myself. A former homicide police detective. And he says he doesn't think this crime was about money. So that had me thinking, right? So if it's not about money, then what is it about? Jennifer thinks it's an elimination thing where they just wanted to eliminate her because they were tired of taking care of her. So of course she thinks it could be the family, right? I don't want to put words in her mouth. Go watch her show. So I do believe that they wanted to get rid of Miss Nancy, but not like to unalive her, just to like force her into a home. So that would mean the family did it, right? In my theory. It's a theory, it's my opinion, it's not fact, right? Are we finished with this? Yeah, we're finished with this part. Did we want to pull Lenormand? Did we pull Lenormand on her already to see? Let's pull Lenormand to see why Annie did this. Why Annie did this. Yeah, so if it's not for money, and if it's not for money, then does it have to be the family, right? Could it be just a parasocial person that had it in for the family? Maybe they had it in for Annie or Miss Nancy or Savannah. That's another question, right? We're not going to pull cards on that though. These are just things I'm going over in my mind. Where's the woman? Why did Annie do this? The snake, it's about deception, right? You saw, right? The snake in the Norman. It's about deception. I'm going to come back and tell you what motives I think. Deceptive, dangerous, trouble, lies. The birds are about information, right? Let's see. Number 12, communication, gossip, social media, meetings, siblings. And then Annie. And then the stork is about new beginnings. And then the ship is about traveling or a journey. Okay, let's start with Annie. I feel like if, don't clip this and go show this nowhere and say Barbara said Annie did it, okay? If Annie did it, it was about her freedom. She wanted to travel. She probably got tired of taking care of the mom. May have loved her dearly, but got tired. And I feel like if she did it, the siblings are involved and they told her, yeah, go ahead, do it, right? And then I feel like she involved her husband, Tommaso, of course. And then I feel like Tommaso involved everybody else that I think could possibly be involved. And those people that Tommaso might have involved would have done it for a payday. Not so much a ransom, but just, hey, I'm going to pay you this much if you would just show up at the house dressed in this suit and appear in front of the camera. I'm going to pay you this much if, blah, blah, you know, just a payday. I'll pay you $10,000 if you would do this. So not for ransom, right? Because Cameron said, it looks like a kidnapping for ransom. Now, you could think it looks like a kidnapping based on what the house looks like. What is that, a dove? Oh, wow, a dove. You could think that it's a kidnapping. Your mom's missing, right? Even get it. But for ransom, how would you know it's for ransom unless there was a note there? So that gives me pause about Cameron. So if Cameron did it, I'm thinking his motive is about, you know, putting the mom in a home too, right? Put the mom in a home, because I'm tired of hearing you call me, Annie, about what mom is doing next. You know mom's still trying to drive? You know, and she can't see well at night. She can't even hear. You know, so maybe Cameron got tired of hearing about that. And I'm not laughing to be funny, guys. I'm at a loss. And maybe part money too. Although that guy says it's not money. So it's not ransom money. I think when the guy says it's not money, he's talking about ransom money. Maybe they got together and go, and she in the home, we're going to sell the house, split the money. All our money situation will be solved. A lot of people think Cameron doesn't have a money situation because he's retired military. And I have somebody that I know that's retired military, and it's not a whole lot of money. Besides Social Security and the VA money, it's not enough to make ends meet. So that would be his motive. Like, I'm tired of hearing this. Let's put her in a home. I don't know that he would do that to his mom, though. I don't know. So if Savannah did it, I'm clear on her motive. Ratings. She was finna lose her job. Credible reports have said this. And I feel like she figured, oh, they'll have sympathy on me and I'll keep my job, maybe even get a raise. Maybe even get that game show that's in the works, because I feel like that was already in the works. Yeah, ratings, which ultimately leads to money. That's if the family did it. If someone else did it, and this guy is saying it's not about money, then it would have been about revenge. What do things say here? Revenge. Do you like the motives? No, the lady at Thornbridge says she feels like they just wanted to eliminate her so they could get to the inheritance, which is the house. She has a simple through line. Get rid of her so we can get to our inheritance. And that's not unheard of in families. Look at Menendez. I feel like that's why they eliminated the parents. Look at Nick Reiner. Well, I think he was just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? So that's the motives that I've come up with. Because the lady at Thornbridge, she couldn't come up with any other motive more than, this lady's old. 69% of the people who get rid of old people, it's because of inheritance or they're tired of taking care of them. That's her research. It could be as simple as that. But I have more twists and turns to it. I feel like if it's Annie that did it, that's part of the reason, but also financial, because I really feel like they were hurting for money. I feel like she involved Tommaso, and if Tommaso involved the brother, I don't know. We don't even know if that's the brother. If it's Cameron, it's about freedom again, and maybe partly money. And if it's Savannah, it's ratings, which again leads to money. So maybe it's not the family. Maybe it's somebody else doing it for revenge. So now let me tell you really quickly. I want to pull a charm. Let me tell you really quickly what happened when I called into Patriot Pride. They asked me my theory of when they figured out who it was, because I'm like, hey, this is Barbara in the IE in California. And then I said, oh, Bear Pantry Show. And he goes, oh my God. They always big me up. They're such lovely, lovely people. And then they said, what's your theory, Barbara? So I just gave them the middle part. The middle part is I feel like it was Miss Nancy that was on the helicopter that got rescued out of Rio Rico. And why I think that is because it's too coincidental for that person to be an 84-year-old female, and also Rio Rico, where the first guy, Carlos Panazuelos, got detained by the cops, right? And I feel like it's too coincidental for the rescue to happen on day 10, when 5 days prior the sheriff said drop her off, no questions asked, because you do know that I believe the sheriff is involved, because I think he's the one that was out there without the backpack and the gun. And I feel like he signaled the kidnapper, look, this stuff has gotten out of control, drop her back off. And I feel like that's her, and I feel like if Cameron wasn't involved since the beginning, that he got involved at that point, and he has his mom safe somewhere until they find who did it. Or just covering up for the other siblings. I didn't say that part. I just said I feel like Cameron has her. And Mike, who is a former sheriff's deputy, says, that kind of makes a lot of sense, because he has the ability, the means to take the mom out of there and take care of her. He flies planes and stuff, and maybe he just picked her up, right? So I wanna pull a charm. We haven't pulled a charm in a while, so I'm gonna mute while I shake it, okay? It's too loud. I don't want it to affect your hearing. Okay. I'm trying to pick one up, but it's slipping. The clover. Another summer, another vacation is over. That's Wham, right? They say something about da-da-da-da and the smell of the clover. I always hear a song playing in my brain. That could be my tism. Let's see what the clover means. I mean, we already know, but let's ask. I'm going to write down meanings to these charms too, so I can start pulling them more. What does a 4-leaf clover mean? Good luck, good fortune, and rare opportunity. The first leaf is faith, the second leaf is hope, the third leaf is love, and the fourth leaf is luck. Oh, I like that. I like that. Today, that's going to be my job. I'm going to pull out my charms, and I'm going to ask Google or the AI or whatever, what do these charms possibly mean? I'm going to write down the meanings and then maybe put my own meaning too. And so we're going to have meanings to the charms soon, okay? So this was a quick one, guys. I guess the gush is the charm. The gush is the charm. This was a quick one. Did Annie really do this? Why did she do it? And then I shared with you what my idea of the motives are if the family did it. Right? Okay. I'll see you guys on the next one. Oh, let me show you my outfit. This colorful skirt. And I made a bag out of this too. I can't find it though. My little shirt. All right, guys. Bye.